This is episode 2 with Tony Cottee. We'll be talking about all things football and all things Leicester and West Ham. If you like the content, subscribe to the channel and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and back to your club, West Ham. David Moyes, he's, well, in our opinion, he's doing a fantastic job.
I agree.
And winning the European Conference League. What were your thoughts on that? And did you get tickets to the game? And obviously they've been doing some great things of late.
Yeah, it's been great for me because as a fan, West Ham won the FA Cup in 1980, a long time ago, and they qualified for the Cup Winners' Cup, the old Cup Winners' Cup in 1981. So I went to all the home games. I was only 15 at the time. Went to all the home games, but obviously I couldn't travel abroad and go to the away games, which is what I wanted to do. This was before I signed as an apprentice. So I had to wait 40 odd years for that to come round. I left Sky in 2021. So when West Ham qualified to get to play in Europe for the last 3 seasons, as it's been, I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna pass up on it this time. So the first year of them being in Europe, they played in the Europa League, which was great, and I went to Seville, went to Lyon, went to Frankfurt as well, and unfortunately, obviously lost to Frankfurt, and then had the Conference League run in the second season, resulting in the final in Prague, which I was out there and done the games. I've done the same thing, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, which was it was just fantastic to be out in Prague and to win the game as well.
Bowen got the goal, didn't he?
Yeah,
Jarod Bowen got the goal.
Jarod Bowen, yeah. But it was just, I was one of the privileged because there was only 20,000 allowed in the ground. It's just stupid to put a major final with 20,000 capacity. It's
could have done double, triple that, couldn't they?
Yeah, exactly. I know. So there was a lot of fans out there without tickets. And I was one of the privileged in the ground. And it was just fantastic. And with my mates, and I thought, well, I've been waiting 43 years for this as a fan. 1980 to 2023 is 43 years, and that's like a long time. So, we just had a great couple of days out there and celebrated. And then, of course, because they won that, they then qualified for the Europa League this year, which they've done really well. And in the end, gave Leverkusen a really good game. If they'd got Jarod Bowen, if he'd scored the second goal, it would have been very interesting. So it looks like West Ham won't qualify for Europe. They've still got an outside chance. Looks like they won't qualify, but it's been 3 memorable years, and a lot of that is down to David Moyes.
Yeah, and he seems to polarise West Ham fans, well, the ones that I know.
Absolutely,
anyway. And I'm a neutral, obviously, I'm not a West Ham fan, but I can't understand why, because on paper, the guy's done, for me, brilliantly. I don't know what you think about it, but to hear people want him to move on because it's not attractive football, or it's time to move on, what's your thoughts? I can't understand it.
Well, first and foremost, I am a big David Moyes fan. I think he's done fantastic what he's achieved at the club, winning a trophy, 3 years of European football, etc. Like 6th and 7th position finishes in the Premier League. I know there was a dip last season. This year looks like they're between 8th and 10th. So he's done absolutely fantastic. I also get the other argument, the counter argument, which is West Ham aren't playing attacking football. A lot of it's counter-attacking football. I think there's criticism about his substitutions, being a bit too late in the game. And then, of course, there's not, the West Ham won the Youth Cup last year, beat Arsenal. Get that one in. But if you win the Youth Cup, you've obviously got a good crop of youngsters. You want to see those youngsters pushing through. They've not quite come through as quickly as some of the fans would have liked. So I get the arguments. I get the arguments for. I get the arguments against. But I also go back to what happened. Obviously, this is David's second spell, and in between David Moyes, West Ham had Pellegrini, who was absolutely useless. Absolutely useless.
But a good pedigree on paper coming in.
Yeah, but on paper he's fine because you get these managers, don't you? And they've got all these CVs and everything and that. But West Ham's. We probably all think it about our clubs. In my opinion, West Ham's a unique club, and they need a sort of special type of manager to understand where the fans are coming from and to try and get the club to where it wants to get to. And I think it's all right getting rid of David Moyes, but my biggest fear is, well, firstly, I don't trust the owners. I don't think they've made too many good calls in terms of appointing managers. Don't forget, we've had Pellegrini, we've had Avram Grant, who was absolutely useless. They appointed Big Sam's. Big Sam's effective, but he ain't playing the West Ham style of football. You know that before you appoint him. Slaven Bilic, he tried, but didn't quite work, which I was a bit gutted about, ex-teammate of mine. So I don't trust the current owners to pick the right person. And of course, if you don't pick the right person, you get rid of David Moyes, you put some bloke in who we've never heard of. 6 months into the season, we'll all be going, bring David Moyes back, because we're in a relegation fight. And that's where you've got to be careful. And I think most of the older ones sort of realise and appreciate what David's done for the club, and also remember the tough times.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit like Cardiff as an example. Like, you know, it's all right saying, oh yeah, went to Wembley and played in the Premier League and that. Well, what about the times when they was really struggling at Ninian Park and you're getting 10,000 fans and, you know, the club's not going anywhere? And West Ham were like that. You know, every club has its wilderness years, don't they? And, you know, we had a lot of years where things weren't, you know, listen, I was guilty as I played for the club in those times, but, you know, they didn't win a trophy. They weren't going anywhere. They weren't qualifying for Europe. And, you know, you've got to be careful, because success is very difficult to achieve, and David's done that, you know. And I personally, I think when West Ham won the Conference League, West Ham should have given him a 4-year contract. If they'd done that, it would have settled everything down. Yeah. We wouldn't be sitting here now as we are at the end of the season. So we'd be saying, oh, he's got 3 years left on his contract. All right, we've got to tweak things a bit, but everything's fine, everything's happy. But because they didn't give him a contract, there's been all this upheaval. We've had it for the last 6 months. David Moyes is leaving, and this bloke's coming in, and that bloke's coming in. Yeah. And I don't know. I think, you know, I don't want to say be careful what you wish for, because a lot of people have already said that. But in this case, they've got to be really, really careful.
I was going to say, I feel that they've kind of reached the ceiling of where they can go with David Moyes. I think. I don't think they can get any higher, but realistically, without like massive investments,
you don't want to go lower, do you? Yeah, it's right.
How can you break into those top 7 positions? If you look at the sides above West Ham, you've got Newcastle, and then the rest of the top 6. I mean, like, how...
Well, Villa, you got Villa as well now. So what everyone calls
Chelsea's
the top 6, I don't like to call it the top 6.
So
Chelsea are only going to get better. They've got young players.
Exactly.
So you've got, if you call it the top 6, and you've got Newcastle and Villa, that's eight positions. So even if you finish 9th, which is the best of everyone else, you're not getting into Europe.
Exactly.
And then you're reliant on a league or FA Cup run to try and get into Europe, and that. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult. Yeah. And I think West Ham have proved that. You know, to be 43 years to win the trophy, that's how difficult it is. So, yeah, they've just got to be really, really careful with it. You know, and I hope the right decisions are made, but I do fear the worst.
Do you think? Sorry,
go on. You go.
I was going to say, do you think selling some of your best players over the years has hindered your progress? Like,
of course it has. Yeah.
Declan Rice going to Arsenal, I think, for 105 million.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? And do you think you need to keep those sort of players in the club?
Well, it's very difficult. So you can go back to me and even before me in terms of players. So the only way to keep players at a football club is you need to win trophies or play in Europe. That's the two things. Nowadays, it's not so much about money, because, you know, as I said, when I was younger and the money wasn't there, and if you come through the academy, you were getting crap money, and everyone's getting paid loads of money because they got transferred in. Like now, my first full season as an 18-year-old, I scored 19 goals. Now, imagine an 18-year-old at any club in the Premier League. If you score 19 goals,
unreal.
You ain't going to be on £110 a week like what I was on. £110 a week.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not going to happen. So the money is not the issue. Players want to win trophies, play in Europe, or specifically the Champions League. It's not so much Europe, it's more Champions League, isn't it? So if you go back a couple of years, I already mentioned it, when West Ham lost to Eintracht Frankfurt, the Europa League semi-final, that was the moment Declan Rice left West Ham. It wasn't the season after. Yeah. He left that day, because if West Ham had beaten Frankfurt, they would have played Rangers in the final. Yeah. With the greatest respect, I think West Ham would have beaten Rangers. If you beat Rangers, you're in the Champions League, and they've won a trophy. Yeah. All right. So Dex goes tick for the winning trophy, tick for the Champions League. I'm not going anywhere. So that's where it's really, really hard. You know, if you want to build a football club, any football club, you can't sell your best players. I think history proves that. You know, but unfortunately for West Ham, unless they're winning trophies and unless they're playing in the Champions League, they're always going to have the vultures be circling. They're talking about Paqueta going to Man City. It wouldn't surprise me.
He's a decent player as well, isn't he?
He's a fantastic player. Yeah, is he £85 million? I don't know. Will they pay it? I don't know. But you know, West Ham need to keep Paqueta. They need to keep Bowen. They need to keep Kudus. They need to keep Alvarez. You know, these are top players. They need players to go with those players. There's still 4 or 5 players short in their team to get into breaking into that top 8 that we spoke about. But they need to keep their top players. But how do you keep the top players? Because West Ham, I think, I hope I'm wrong, but at the end of this season, they'll probably finish 9th, 10th in the Premier League. They won't have European football next year. And then you've got players who are playing, and then they're speaking to all their mates, and they're all playing Champions League football and winning trophies, and which is exactly what I had in the 80s when I'm listening to the Man United boys and the Liverpool boys. Oh, we're winning the league this week, we're winning the FA Cup and all that. So it is difficult to keep your players.
On paper, for you, is that a good season for West Ham? Finishing 9th, maybe?
Finishing in
good
the top
cup
10,
run.
yeah, I think the way the club's progressed, obviously they've moved to the stadium, and with the crowds they're getting, I think West Ham should look at finishing in the top 10 every season in the Premier League. That's got to be the aim. If you finish outside the top 10, then I think you can call it a disappointing season. I think West Ham, for most of this season, they've been up near the top sort of 6th position. And I know you've had Chelsea have been disappointing, Newcastle ain't been quite, I understand all that, but they've still had quite a decent season. And then going forward, they've got to look to win a League Cup, which they've never won in their history, or an FA Cup, which they haven't won since 1980. And that just proves the point of how difficult it is. And that's where how can you keep the players when you're not winning trophies? All right, you finish 9th or 10th, but you're not playing in Europe.
Do you think David Moyes didn't focus enough on the League Cup this year? It seemed to me like he was still focused on...
I think one of my sort of big criticisms of this season was the team we put out against Liverpool. I went up to Anfield for that game. I travelled up there. There were 6,000 West Ham fans. And I think when we saw the team come out, 6 changes, I think it was for West Ham. You're thinking...
It had that vibe about it, didn't it? If Liverpool put out their full team and you're playing at Anfield Cup quarter-final and West Ham put out their full team, 9 times out of 10 Liverpool going to win. We know that. Okay, if Liverpool make 6 changes and we put out our full team, then we got a good chance of winning. If Liverpool make 6 changes and we make 6 changes, then you're back to where you was in the first place, and you get the inevitable 5-1 defeat that we had. So I think that was a real disappointment. Then you could have progressed through, and I think next season, the focus won't be on Europe. Perhaps the focus was on Europe a little bit the last 3 seasons. Next season, you go back to finishing the top 10. And you've got to try and win the League Cup and the FA Cup, because that's the way you're going to get into Europe.
Yeah. We touched on a little bit earlier about like what does West Ham need to get to that next level. I think one thing that's been missing for a very long time is a goal scorer, because you've got Antonio, which is the current top goal scorer.
Converted right back as well.
Converted right back.
He's done brilliant. He's done absolutely fantastic.
And is he on something like 68 goals, and that's the best ever
record Premier League goal scorer for West Ham.
And you'd imagine that's a bit low, really, or a bit light.
Over the duration that he's been, I know he's come from a different position to play striker, but I do think they're lacking a real out-and-out goal scorer. Yeah,
without a doubt. And I get frustrated with it as an centre forward. Why haven't we bought? Having said that, we bought Haller, who was a good player, never worked out. We bought Skamaka, good player, never worked. Both playing in the Champions League. They're not mugs. They're good players, but they just never fitted in to the David Moyes formation and system and that. And I suppose that's another thing that people would say, oh yeah, you buy players and they don't fit in the system and that. But West Ham, you're quite right. We've got the front 3 that would play. If you're playing a 4-2-3-1, the front 3 here, you've got Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta is fantastic. You've got 3 top players. You need a centre forward to lead the line. Antonio, done brilliant. 34 years of age now. He's come to the end of his career. So West Ham needs someone who can lead the line. And then behind that, in the middle 2, you've got Alvarez as a top player. You need someone to play alongside him. And then you look at the goalkeeper. Is he the right goalkeeper? And you've got 3 of the back 4. Emerson's a good player, the left back. But the other 3... West Ham need probably a goalkeeper, right back, 2 centre halves, holding midfield player, and a centre forward. Apart from that, they're great. So it's 6 players, and that's 6 players, and that's the size of the task. So whether it's David Moyes or another manager, that's 6 players, but particularly a goal scorer. If you get a goal, if you get someone who scores you 20 goals, if West Ham have had
Ollie Watkins or
someone who scores 20 goals as well as the goal return from the other 3, we would have been in Europe next season.
Anyone coming through the academy that might,
Yeah, there's players. I mean, there's Callum Marshall has been really sort of touted about. He's a good player. I think he's playing for Northern Ireland already in the national team. And then you've got Divine Mubama as well, but we haven't really seen much of him. So there are some young players there, but it's tough, isn't it, to give the young players a chance. And when you're trying to win every game, and if you play the kids and everyone's like, oh, they ain't good enough and that, but you've got to play them 6 games to give them a chance. So it's a bit of a vicious circle, really.
Yeah, definitely.
So on to the stadium. So do you think West Ham have settled in nicely to the new stadium? What's the kind of differences for you with Upton Park as well with that in terms of as a spectator and just what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you called it a new stadium and we all call it a new stadium, but it's 8 years old now. Yeah. It's like, we've been there 8 years. It's gone so quick.
Time flies, isn't it?
Yeah. Personally speaking, I love the stadium, but it's not a football stadium. Right. And we know that because it was built for the Olympics. Yeah. And dear old Sebastian Coe thought it'd be a great idea not to have any plans in place to make it into a football stadium.
Mad.
Which is ridiculous. And you look at the taxpayers' money that's gone into that stadium. Man City had the right idea. They had the Commonwealth Games. They had a 2-tier stadium. Once the Commonwealth Games moves out of town, you build another tier. You have a 3-tier stadium. Excuse me, which is what they've got. Sorry, boys.
Sorry.
So Man City got the 3-tier stadium, but there was a forethought there, and there was a plan there. With the Olympic Stadium, they just put a temporary stadium up, and we'll worry about it. And West Ham sort of picked up the pieces, because originally Orient were going to have it, and then Tottenham were threatening, but Tottenham just wanted money from their council. They never wanted to move in the stadium. Right. And then, of course, West Ham have moved in, but they've moved into an athletic stadium. Don't get me wrong, the club have done brilliant. They've squared it off behind the goals, and they've tried their best to do what they can. But where they rent the stadium, they don't own the stadium, they can't do what they want to do to make it into a football stadium. Mm-hmm. Whether that is even feasible, I don't know, because the biggest thing at the London Stadium, have you boys been there? Anyone been there?
I haven't, no.
It's the distance. That's it. It's the distance between the touchline and, even David Moyes has to walk 20 yards just to get to the side of the pitch. And the fans, compared to what it was at Upton Park, and I know you can't go back to those days where you're 2 yards from the players and that, but the fans would like to be a lot nearer. And, if it had been done properly, if there'd have been a plan in place, you could have, dug down or whatever and, done a lower tier or whatever, and then you could have had an even better stadium with West Ham going in that's built for football.
Yeah.
And, that's why I get annoyed. It was all athletics, Olympics. And don't get me wrong, the Olympics was fantastic, but that's in the past. That's 2012. We're now 2024, and we're still really no further down the line from the point of view that West Ham are playing in a fantastic stadium that's not built for football.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it? Because they had such a great atmosphere at.
Don't give it. Just to clarify, you get the atmosphere, but you get it for the top games. Leverkusen was great. They played Seville a couple of years ago. The atmosphere was absolutely amazing. It was first half against Leverkusen. The atmosphere was fantastic. Yeah. But the atmosphere is the fans. Yeah. It's not the stadium. The fans react to what they're seeing on the pitch. So if it's good football and you're winning games, playing in Europe, etc., you get the fans all excited and a good atmosphere. If you're not playing well, then you get a rubbish atmosphere where whether you're Upton Park or London Stadium, it's going to be crap.
Do you think it's easier though for the top sides to come and play there because they're so far away from the fans? It's not as as intimidating, I suppose. What I mean.
Yeah, I always used to say that Upton Park was worth 10 points to us. At the start of the season, you could put us on plus 10 just because teams that you could see sometimes, you look at the players and they don't fancy it today. And our crowd was hostile. I mean, there's a lot of grounds I like. Cardiff, for example, is hostile. Millwall's hostile. Yeah. There's a lot of grounds that are hostile and that, but ours was very intimidating, and it really helped us from a home point of view. I don't think West Ham have ever been any different. I think on their day, West Ham can beat anyone, but they can also lose to Stockport or Orient or whoever it might be. That's just the nature of the club, really.
Do you think the fact that you don't own it affects the kind of financial proposition of West Ham as a club? I don't know the ins and outs, but you think, okay.
Well, it does. It affects it, and it also means they can't do what they want to do. Everything that... Best way to describe it is if you rent a house or a flat and... I don't know, you've got the pictures behind me. You want to put, if I was renting this place and I put those pictures up, if my landlord comes round, he goes, take them pictures down. You never asked for permission. Yeah. And it's exactly the same for West Ham. They can't put all their pictures up because they've got a landlord. They can't move the seats in. They can't take out all the temporary. They can't get rid of the running track. The running track's still there. I mean, what do you need a running track for? It's a football club. Yeah. It's madness. But until they own the stadium or get a proper lease in place where they can do what they want to, it will never change. And personally, I want to see them own the stadium because it's important. It'll take West Ham to the next level.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Talking about some of your players now again. Jarod Bowen, is he going to Euro 24? And is he going to get into that side? You've got such a great midfield at the moment. Yeah. Is he going to get any game time?
I don't think that Jarod won't be in our starting 11. I don't think. That's just my opinion. Will he be in the squad? Absolutely. I hope so. You just don't know. I mean, with Gareth, I'm really pleased with what Gareth's done. My only criticism is where he was a defensive player. I think he's just too defensive at times. So he might look at the squad, and Jarod might be one of those players that misses out. If the squad increases to 26, which I think it has done, then there's no reason for Jarod not to be in that 26. And the good thing about Jarod is he brings not only he can play on the right, he can play on the left, he can play as a number 10, he can play as a centre forward. So he ticks all those boxes. I think Gareth likes those sort of versatile players. Players like Kieran Trippier, for example, who can play on many different. John Stones can play all different positions. Cole Walker. He likes those sort of players from a forward point of view. I think Jarod ticks all those boxes. I don't think he'll be in the starting 11 for the first game, but for me, he's done enough this season to deserve a place on the plane, 100%. And he should be in the squad.
Yeah.
One of the places England are a little bit light, I think, is the defensive midfielder position, because you obviously got Dex, who's obviously he's a starter guaranteed, and then it's kind of a bit of like trying to force people in to get the balance there. Phillips has been on loan from Manchester City to West Ham. Hasn't really gone right for him. He doesn't look 100% fit. I think maybe his confidence took a knock as well, where Pep has kind of called him out on like weight issues and stuff like that. That can't be helpful. Who would you have in your England kind of midfield five? Because it's tough just to get, five in there. I mean, there's so much quality.
I was asked the question. First and foremost, Calvin Phillips. I don't think he'll be in the squad now. He's not fit. He needs to go away on holiday, pre-season, whether that's at Man City or possibly back at Leeds if they get promoted or whatever. I would have him at West Ham. I seriously would have him at West Ham. But he needs a rest and he needs to do a pre-season. And then you will get the player that we've seen 2-3 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
In terms of the England team. You mentioned about the defensive players. So I think that our biggest weakness. I'm saying now, look at 3 Welsh boys sitting in front of me.
Hey, I'm English.
Oh, you're English, right?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
right. I've got 2 Welsh boys.
I'm with you.
Okay, right, brilliant. So our weakness is defensively, without a doubt. The goalkeeper's good. I like Pickford. I actually like the back 4, and I think if they're fit, it's a big if. You've got Kyle Walker at right back, Luke Shaw at left back, Harry Maguire, John Stone. That I think we all know, and we know that 5 is going to be in place. But it's still, they can be got out. They will concede goals without a doubt. So my philosophy, if I was England manager, would be to outscore the opposition.
100%.
Because we've got the players, in terms of the attacking talent, we've got a phenomenal amount of attacking talent, not just in the team, but in the squad as well. Someone like Jarod Bowen, Jack Grealish probably ain't going to start, but you've got, we've got £100 million
Cole Palmer.
Cole Palmer's in my team, by the way.
Oh, okay.
So I would have Declan Rice. I've got the back 4, Declan Rice holding on his own. Dec can do that job. And then I would then have Saka, Foden, Bellingham, Cole Palmer. I'm not sure where I'm playing them all. And then Harry Kane.
Just let him go.
Go and play.
Yeah.
Go and play.
Yeah.
So I would have the structure of, because football's changed now. Football's changed, and particularly the fullback role's changed. So when you pick that team, the 2 players that are going to stay obviously will be Maguire. He's going to stay. Stonesy roams around anyway, and then you've got Dec who can sort of drop into the centre half position if John Stones goes forward. So you've got three players there down the centre of the pitch that can hold. Cole Walker is I don't think people appreciate how good he is. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
And you talk about world class. At the moment, he's a world class fullback, in my opinion. He's probably the best in the world in that position. Right back, bomb on. Left back, Luke Shaw, bomb on. So you've got your 3 holding in the middle. Everyone else just charge forward, go and score your goals.
Yeah.
You just go out and play. They're footballers. You can't coach and teach people like Bellingham, Foden, Palmer. You can't coach them to do things. You can't play. Go and create. You got world class goal scorer. We've got 4 or 5 world class players in our team. And you need that. I mean, any team that's going to win the Euros or the World Cup, you have to have 2 to 3 world class players. We've probably got 4 or 5.
Well, I'll say, there's no pressure on me saying this because I'm Welsh, but England should win that competition for me.
Absolutely. But they also should have won the 22 World Cup. They should have won the 20 Euros. They should have won the 18 World Cup as well, because they lost to Belgium in the 18. They should have done better. Lost to Italy in the final. Should never have lost to Italy in the final.
Yeah.
Lost to France. If Harry Kane scores that second penalty, England win the game.
Yeah.
And it's just... I know you two.
Do you think because
we're just getting fed up with all
it's never ending?
Yeah, but it's just there's too many excuses, and you can't keep doing that. And you get we had the so-called golden generation. They never won anything, but we don't want that to happen with this generation. We've got so many good players, and you've got the hardest trophy to win is the first one. Ask Sir Alex Ferguson, hardest trophy to win. Took him 4 years. Hardest one to win is the first one. Once you get the first one, you're off and running. England have to win in the summer. They've got the best team. They've got the best squad. I totally agree with you. Have they got the best manager for it? I'd like to think so. I just want him to be, boys, go out and play.
Do you think
go out and score?
If it is his last competition, he might relax a little bit and think, right, let's go for it? I feel like you said earlier, he was quite defensive, quite structured.
Yeah.
Couldn't really make that tactical decision from the bench.
Gareth's only got one way of playing, though, isn't it? I wish that was the case, what you're saying. But, if I'm Gareth, I would be thinking, well, if we win Euro 24, you've got World Cup 26, which you've still got a great chance of winning, albeit in a very hot climate. And then the following year, 2 years later, you've got the Euros is in England.
Yeah.
So you've got the chance. You've got 3 tournaments over the next 4 years. You've got a fantastic chance.
Peak players.
And players, Bellingham 20, Phil Foden's 20, was he 24?
Yeah.
All right, Harry Kane will be coming to the end when we get to 2028 Euros and that, but someone else might come through who's going to score the goals. Now, Ollie Watkins is a good player.
Yeah,
we've got a really good squad on that, but you just got to they've got to get that winning mentality. They've got to win the first one, and then I think everything will snowball behind it.
Where do you think Trent Alexander-Arnold fits in the conversation? Because he's a fantastic right back for Liverpool. Defensively, maybe not. He's not as good as Kyle Walker.
Yeah,
but he's got fantastic delivery, and if you want someone to unlock play, he's kind of almost Beckham-esque with his deliveries.
I agree.
Can you push him further on?
Yeah, well, I think I've told you what my starting 11 would be, but I think Trent's got to be in the squad, and I think with certain games, you pick your team accordingly, and if you're playing one of the so-called weaker teams and that, then you pick all your attack, or you should have one holding midfielder, attacking players go out and play, right? Say we're playing France, all right, I get it. He might want 2. He might want someone like Trent who goes into that holding midfield, playing alongside Declan, and then you've got your 4-2-3-1, a bit more structured. But I think in today's day and age, where what I'm trying to say, 30, 40 years ago, I don't think we knew the opposition that well. We didn't know really what they was bringing, playing like East Germany or something. No idea who played, or Russia or whatever. You've got no idea who plays. That's not the... Now, a lot of the players are playing in the Premier League, as we know they're playing in Spain and Germany and Italy and all that. We know the players and that. So what I'm trying to say is when you play a certain team, there might be a certain way you've got to play against them. Trent, what is Trent good at? Dead balls, free kicks, etc. Yeah. So you've got him to come on. In my thinking as well, I'm just thinking that invariably, if not almost all the time, you get involved in a penalty shootout. So for me, Ivan Toney has to be in the squad. He's the best penalty taker in the Premier League. Yeah. Why would you not take the best penalty taker in? Even if he comes on the last 2 minutes, like what he tried to do with Sancho and all the boys in the final, Ivan Toney has to be on the plane because you've got different tactics against it, and they've got all the dossiers. They know who they're playing against. And that. I don't even know who we're playing in. I haven't even thought about the Euros yet. But the 3 group games and that, they'll know about the opposition and who they are and how good they are and whatever. And you pick your players accordingly. Trent has to be in the squad. Has to be in the squad.
Yeah. Well, there's embarrassment of riches, isn't there? Yeah. James Ward-Prowse, Maddison.
So I think James. I'm not sure James will get in the squad.
He probably won't. But
he's been in different season. Kieran Trippier plays in all the positions at the back. As I said,
James,
he's fit. Ben Chilwell's not. He's back, but he's not really been fit.
Has he? But injury prone, isn't he, Chilwell? But,
left back's a bit of a concern at the moment because we need either Chilwell to step up or Luke Shaw to get back in fitness. But apart from that, I'm really confident.
Yeah, a lot of those players that we mentioned probably will make the squad. They would be starters for pretty much 90% of all the other countries. Yeah. So it is really interesting, that kind of side of things. But you did mention, you touched on that there was 5 world-class players for England. So we're just going to ask you
4 or 5, I think.
4 or 5. Which would you give
Harry
the
Kane,
stamp?
Harry Kane definitely. and this is on current form as we stand at the moment. Harry Kane, I think Kyle Walker, as I said, is the best in his position. I think Phil Foden probably comes into that category. I think on his performances so far this season, Jude Bellingham's been performing at a world-class level.
That's your 4.
That's my 4, yeah. Did I say Saka? I mean Saka. Saka's not been world-class this year, but he's been all right.
That says a lot.
But that's the 4 in it. And I like John Stones.
John
as well.
Stones.
John Stones is a role choice.
I think he's up there.
John
so
Stones. you definitely got your 2 or 3. Without 100% got your 2 or 3. And if they perform and play well, you've got your 4, 5, or even 6 that can. And if you do that, then you should win the tournament.
And Ollie Watkins has had a arguably world-class season.
Yeah,
maybe
he's been fantastic for Villa. Yeah, I'm pleased with him. All it does for me is just reinforce the pyramid system that we've got in England. And that if you look at players that are Ollie Watkins, Jarod Bowen, for example, who've come from championship teams.
Yeah.
And just go on and perform not just for their new clubs but for their country as well. It shows you that it's working.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we mentioned Harry Kane there. I know we mentioned earlier about a world-class accolade to get. You might need silverware. He hasn't won anything yet. Does that still make him world-class?
Well, I was pleased. I think it was last night. I was just reading the news and Harry was saying about he's at Bayern Munich for a long time. He's there to stay to win the trophies and everything. And I'm thinking, thank Christ for that. So I don't know whether you boys know. So in terms of all-time top-flight goals, Harry Kane's got 213 goals. I've got 214.
Oh, okay.
So I want Harry Kane to stay in Bayern Munich and finish his career there and don't come back to the Premier League, all right? And in that way, he'll stay 1 goal behind me. I don't think it'll happen. I think he will come back to Tottenham or I don't know, maybe Man United or something. But because I'm really surprised. I get it to win the trophies, and I can't believe he's going to go to Bayern and not win a trophy. That is just incredible. If that happens, that is it's so unfair on Harry because he thoroughly deserves to win a trophy. But I can't believe with that Alan Shearer Premier League goal scoring record, I can't believe he's left on 213. He needs 47 goals though. It's still a lot of goals. He's getting older. Yeah. I think he'll be back. He needs to get back quicker rather than later, you know, to get what he needs to get.
He'll have a go, I think.
I think so, yeah. But he might do 2 or 3 years. What is he, is he 30 now, Harry? I think he's 30. And
he's around 30, 31.
So, so he might come back as a 33, 34-year-old, but, you know, he's fit boy and he'll still score goals.
Yeah,
and that,
well, like players like him, like Lewandowski, I think is a fair comparison. Yeah. They just score goals, don't they?
Absolutely,
and
they're fitter and they're more aware and they do yoga and they eat and drink the right things now. So obviously players are playing a lot longer. But I do feel a little bit for Harry. I mean, what was it, 2-2 in it against Real Madrid? So they've still got a chance, I suppose, in the second leg. But you know, it'll be one of those sort of real quirks of fate, I suppose, if he doesn't win a trophy and Bayern have won a trophy every season for the last 10, 11 years or something. And I will feel for him.
That is unlucky.
Okay, so we'll ask them, going on to some fans' question and answers now.
Okay, brilliant.
All right, so I know we touched on this a bit earlier. I'm not sure if you answered in full. Who would you like to see as the next West Ham manager?
Next West Ham manager.
And that's from Tom Hatcher.
Right, okay. So my short list, if you like, I would, this is only me personally, I would like to see a British manager or a manager with Premier League experience. That would be my criteria. I'd like to see Michael Carrick would be my number one choice, I think. I'd like to see Michael Carrick. I think he's done his apprenticeship now at Middlesbrough Man United. Gary O'Neill, I think, has to come in the running, play for West Ham, done a great job at Bournemouth and Wolves. And Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, but I think Ipswich are going to get promoted. If they do, I think it will take a massive offer to get him out of Ipswich because obviously he's got the opportunity with Ipswich. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't really see too many. I don't like who they've been linked with. Is it Lopetegui? Not for me. Aromi or whatever his name is, who flew over and
that's bizarre, wasn't it?
I've got to be honest. I just find it disrespectful to. Yeah. Not that West Ham are talking to other managers because I'd be criticising them if they wasn't planning. If both parties think he's going to leave, you've got to be looking at the managers, but just don't do it in the bloody public eye. You don't need to tell people you're talking to so-and-so or so-and-so's flown in on a private. You don't need...
Is it part of the game maybe to move some chess pieces around?
It's part of the season ticket renewals. I think they think the fans are getting excited. Or what. I don't know. It just... I don't like doing your business in public. You don't need to do it.
No.
Just if you're going to talk to someone, go and talk to them. Do not be disrespectful to a manager who's given this club so much over the last 4 years. I don't like that, and not happy with that. But
I think O'Neill's a good shout, actually.
Yeah, I think that's my three that I'd like to choose from. But I've not seen any of them three linked with the job. So what do I know? We'll see.
Next fan question must be from his brother Hatcher Nick. To me, it seems obvious, but do you want West Ham to be bought by a billionaire?
Yes.
So I mean that's straightforward.
I didn't think about that, did I?
Yeah.
Next one available, please.
Having said that, I mean, if you look at Newcastle, I mean, like obviously the PIF have got Newcastle, but they've not been allowed to spend their money and bring in. I mean, we all thought they was going to spend millions and billions and zillions of that, and they've got all the money in the world to do that, and they've, because of this stupid PSR ruling, they're not allowed to do it. And I don't know. I mean, even if a billionaire takes over at West Ham, are you allowed to spend the money? Or can you bring the players in that you need to bring in? Well, I think every club would like to see someone take over lots of money, but the way everything's structured at the moment, and again, I don't think this is fair. If you look at Man City, we're allowed to spend millions of pounds to get to where they are. Because if you look at Man City 25 years ago, they was playing in League One, I think, weren't they? And
they dropped down.
Beat Gillingham, was it, or whatever? Well, they wouldn't be there without that money. Chelsea, I can remember Chelsea in the 80s with a awful ground and getting crowds of 12, 13,000, and then all the money comes in.
Had the dog track running around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Building site, wasn't it? For quite a while.
I mean, having said that, every club's benefited from money. I mean, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, you name them. Every club benefits from money.
Even Cardiff, where they had Sam and Man.
I think the answer is yes. I would like to see a billionaire come into the club, but whoever comes in, you've got to spend the money wisely. You've got to sort the stadium out, and you've got to sort out the playing staff. And get the manager correct as well. So there's a lot that's involved. It's not just saying there's £1 billion, it's going to be great, because it doesn't work that way.
Money doesn't always equal success. It has to be spent right.
Correct.
And then this one's from James Hicks, the shirt you signed earlier.
Ixie.
You'll love that. Do you think you would have made it in today's game?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Easy.
I think I briefly touched on it, but I think if you was technically good, I played in the 80s and the 90s, and I think if you was technically good in the 80s or the 90s, you could play in the modern era without a doubt, because you're not dealing with all the pitches and all that sort of stuff. I think me personally, I think technically I was good. I could control the ball, I could pass the ball, I could obviously finish. I think I would have to have learned to play the position of a lone centre forward. I think that's the one thing, and that's when I played back in the 80s, and that the thought of playing as a lone centre forward scared me, because I'm playing against big 6'3" who edit and kick it and all those sort of things, and I couldn't compete with that. Yeah. So I always played as a partnership, as a front two. So I would have to modify my game without a doubt. But I look at players. I don't know, Jamie Vardy's played the role fantastic for Leicester. He's a couple of inches taller than me. I'm trying to think of other players who have played.
Alvarez for Man City.
Even Jarod Bowen. Even Jarod Bowen's played centre forward for West Ham. So without a doubt, and that, I'm not just saying that about me. I think any player,
you find a way.
Yeah, you modify your game. 80s, 90s, even go back to the 60s and the 70s, and that's some wonderful players that could. Could they play in the modern era? Could George Best play in the modern era? Do me a favour. He'd be fantastic. He'd be phenomenal.
Unreal, yeah.
It's a mentality thing, isn't it? You've got to back yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Against anybody.
What I would say as well, though, is I'm not sure most of the players of today could play in the 70s, 80s and 90s.
That's a good point.
That's a harder transition.
It was a brutal game.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't imagine.
Physical game. And, I think the transition would have been hard for them, but I think it would have been easy for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. So just talking a little bit about your pundit career. You was obviously with Sky for 20 years. A long period of time. You kind of this big changing of the guard all at one time. Can you just talk a bit about like your experience of being a pundit, and then kind of ultimately kind of what led to the exit?
Yeah, I mean, I had 20 wonderful years at Sky. We've already spoke about my experience at Barnet in my last season as player manager. Yep. So my dream of being the West Ham manager and going into management, that sort of disappeared quite quickly. So I basically I retired in 2001 and I'm sort of checking my bank balance and I'm thinking, well, I've had a nice time, but I've got about 9 months worth of money here and I've got about another 50 years of my life to live. So I need to do something. I need to work, which is good in a way because, you know, as nice as it is to have a day off and play golf and that, I don't want to be doing that every day of my life. So, I mean, the Sky thing came about because I was proactive. I made a couple of phone calls and I got on to do the... I first worked for Sky. I'd done the Copa America 2001. It was in the summer, and it was very much late night work. So it was like graveyard shift, really, more than anything. And so I'd done that, and then while I was on that, I was introduced to the producer of Soccer Saturday, which was a guy called Ian Condren, or Condo as we called him, and he just said to me, he said, I'd like to get you on the panel one week. I went, okay, that'd be fine. He said, and his exact words were, he said, I'll get you on. He said, if you're good, he said, I'll use you again. He said, if you're shit, then I won't bother anymore. I thought it was fair enough. Yeah. I went on the show first on the panel in 2001, and and that was it. And I was, I used to sort of, I wasn't a regular on the panel, as you would know. And, you know, we had obviously got the regular 4, like the Merciless, Charlie and Tomo became the regular. I used to fill in when George Best went missing in the early days. I used to fill in for George. And I had occasional stints on a Saturday. I used to go in the studio. Midweeks, I used to get quite a few midweeks going to the studio. The rest of the time I was in Vision, obviously with the headphones on, doing what Cammy done so well and having a laugh and a joke, travelling around the country. So, you know, to get paid to go and watch football matches was, for me, was fantastic. 20 wonderful years doing that. And I think when the boys got sacked in 2020, you know, Latiz, Tomo and Charlie, you know, I thought it was a bit of changing the guard. The producer, Condo, who I'd mentioned, left the year before.
Right, okay.
So it was very much the sort of the ones that I'd worked so well with and enjoyed working with. They was either getting sacked or leaving through choice. And I sort of felt that the writing was on the wall for me a little bit. And the following season, 2021 season, albeit it was a little bit COVID-based, and that I got less work. And then we got the start of the 21. When was this summer? Summer 21. I was literally sitting out there in the garden and just had a phone call and a text basically sort of just saying we're not going to use you as much this year. And I wasn't very pleased. I got to be honest. It was, you know, wasn't a particularly nice way to find out about it. And
were you still under decent contract length and all that sort of stuff?
I wasn't on the contract at the time, no, but I was on a sort of pay as you go contract. I've sort of verbally contracted, you know. So it was just. I think it's fair to say Sky have gone in a different direction. Not just Sky, but I think BBC, whoever you want to name, ITV, whatever. They've all gone in a different direction with our football. And football punditry's gone. I think you all know what I'm talking about. And, you know, I don't think I was basically, I hate to say ticking boxes, but I wasn't in the category of what they was looking going forward and that, and which is fair enough, you know. But I looked at it, I thought, you know what, I've had my time. I've done the 20 years and it was time for me to hang my boots up and, you know, as they say, like the door shuts and another one opens. And, you know, the opening for me was going back to being a season ticket holder at West Ham and going on the European tours and the travels and watching my club playing European football for 3 years, which if I'd have been working at Sky, I wouldn't have been able to do. So in a way, it was nice timing. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, do I miss it? Yeah, of course I do. I miss the stability of every Saturday and every sort of Tuesday, Wednesday. You know, you go on your travels, and you know, I don't miss the travelling. The travelling was. I didn't like the travelling. Sometimes you're 3-4 hours in the car. You know, you boys have got it in you today. It's not fun. You have to do it to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I look back with great fondness with what I did. Made some truly great friends, and we had a little bit of a reunion last week. We went out for dinner. Unfortunately, not all the boys were there. Latiz weren't there. Merce weren't there. Charlie wasn't there. But there were 6 of us, all from the originals from the show and everything. So we'll always keep in contact. And you know, just it's one of them. I've had my time. I've done my bit, and time to move on and do other stuff now.
Yeah, I think there's still plenty of equity there though, because you guys. The part of the whole fun about watching Soccer Saturday was it felt like you was sat around with a group of mates
in the pub. Yeah,
in the pub. Had that kind of camaraderie there, a bit of banter. Sometimes there would be disagreements between the panelists and stuff, and I think that kind of stuff is it's just like worth its weight in gold, really, as entertainment value and
I
quality.
I think you guys enjoyed it. You know, the fans and anyone you talk to and they said about Soccer Saturday, I think they sort of people grew up with it, and it was just a regular on a Saturday. You tuned in and you watched the scores coming in. Jeff Stelling was obviously absolutely fantastic as a presenter, and then you had good ex-players who had good careers as footballers that were the sort of pundits, so you sort of valued their opinion, and you know.
Well, the quality's diminished now, hasn't it? So
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's more for other people to say than me, but I think the show it's not what I would do. It's not the show that I was involved in. It's gone in a different direction, and like I say, fair play. If you want to go that direction, that's fine, and I'll go that direction, and that's exactly what happened. So,
did you all kind of move on within like 12 months? Did Jeff go at the same time? Or did he hang around a little bit?
No, it was all in space of a couple of years, really. Yeah, because Jeff didn't go till 20. So the boys went 20. I went 21, and Jeff went 23. So over the course of the 3-year period, and the producer as well, and Cammy left as well. So
and Paul Merson managed to hang around.
Mercy's still there. Yeah, he's a great survivor, and McAnally still does a few bits as well. Yeah. So they've got a couple of the boys still there, but it'll never be the same. But you know, things change, life moves on, and you know, it is what it is.
Yep. So a little bit more about sort of post-career stuff. Talked about sort of the financial stuff, going back into work and things. A few players have gone down maybe not great paths, I guess, after their careers in terms of finance and what have you. So Bryan Robson has started up a new company, hasn't he, to help high performance?
I didn't know. Yeah, but I saw when you put the notes, I saw that. I didn't realise what that was about. So
it's to help advise and guide players through their financial decision making. Really. So, what's your experience leaving football into that?
Been tough. It's been tough because you know you have 20 years as a player, and it's a big if. But if players of today have a 20 years career like what I had, then they shouldn't have any money worries at all at the end of their career if they've put their money where they should do in the right places. And the problem as players, I think, you know, we're quite trusting. Most of the boys are like me, you know, you sort of starting a council estate and then you go to your comprehensive school and you don't really bother with the education because you want to play football, so you don't really learn or don't have to learn what life's about. And then all of a sudden you apprentice, and all of a sudden you get, as in today's case, you get, you know, you've not even made one appearance at the first team, you're getting $3,000 a week. And you know, once you make that one appearance, you'll be on $10,000 a week, which is phenomenal money for a 17, 18-year-old to deal with. And there's still a lot of sharks out there. So if Bryan is doing that, that's great. You know, I like Robbo. He's a great lad. You know, so if he's doing that, I think that's a really good thing. But you know, we are gullible. You know, myself, I sort of had a guy sort of, I wouldn't say con me, but he sort of advised me to invest in something, and you know, I'm still waiting for the payout now. You know, this is 15 years down the line, so it doesn't really help. But I just hope that the modern day footballers they listen to the right people, and the right people help them. You know, because you are trusting, but you know, unfortunately, Uncle John is not always the best person to advise you where to put your money. Yeah, and that's the problem we have with the players.
Yeah.
What's your current involvement with West Ham?
0.
Super fan?
0. Yes, I'm season ticket holder. Yeah. So, you know, whenever people say about, you don't go to the game. Well, no, I do go to the games. I've been to every home game except 2 this season. I went away to Liverpool. I went to Tottenham away. I went to I think I've been to 4 European away games. So, you know, I go to as many away games as I can. The home game, I love it. You know, I'm about an hour drive from here, or I can get the train if I want to go and have a few beers in Stratford beforehand. You know, so depending on whether it's a midweek or weekend. I've got me and my mate, and then my other mate who's got 2 tickets. So we've got 4 tickets between us. We're in one of the corporate lounges, and you know, we go along. We just have a great time and watch the football. Sometimes it's shit, sometimes it's great. It is what it is, and you know, it's just a great release. And and I miss it when the season finishes. You know, we've only got 1 home game left now. And then the season finishes. I know we've got the Euros this year, but you know that it seems a long time between May and August. Yeah, 3 months, and then you're watching, I don't know, cricket or something. As much as I love cricket, you're watching that, or it's not quite the same as watching the Premier League. Yeah. And so but no, I've until the ownership changes, I'll have nothing to do with West Ham, as you know, from a work point of view. But I will still be a season ticket holder.
Yeah, there was some. I don't know how far they got, but there was some talk around yourself, Rio Ferdinand and Anton Ferdinand.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago. Yeah, we had a little go at it. It didn't quite work out.
Pay off,
the Czech guy, Daniel Kretinsky, bought 27% in the end, so that sort of killed off what we were trying to do. But yeah, it's we just wanted what was right for the club. Try and take the club onto the next level, get the academy right, and get everything else right. And that was the objective of it. Unfortunately, by the time I got involved, it had already gone down a certain path with the media, and it was a bit. I couldn't really rectify what had gone on. But no, one day, I'm still only 58. And I'd like to work. So perhaps one day I'll get back in at the club. But as I say, unfortunately, it won't be under the current ownership.
That leads nicely into the next question, is plans for the future. So touched on coaching. Have you ever thought of doing like an assistant manager role, or is there anything else that you've kind of got in pipeline that you'd like to pursue?
I think my days of putting the tracksuit on are probably gone, to be honest with you.
Right,
I do feel when you get to sort of my age, I look at some of them wearing a tracksuit. I think, firstly, it don't quite fit, does it? And secondly, I don't know. I don't know. Just all the bulges are in the wrong place, aren't they? So I'm not sure that. I mean, unless getting attacked. Unless sort of one of my pals gets a job. I mean, it was funny enough, there was one recently who was looking to get a manager's job in the Championship, and he said, if I get the job, you can come and be the strikers coach, which I'd love to do.
It'd be great,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be it wasn't Cardiff, by the way. It doesn't have to be coaching. It could just be talking, because I think there's a lot to be said. I get the hump when players of my generation aren't allowed to go back to their clubs, or are not involved with their old clubs, and they don't pass on their wisdom, they don't pass on their knowledge, and I think it's a real waste. I really do, because all these young players that are going through things nowadays, they're not doing anything that I haven't done or other players haven't done, and you should pass that knowledge on, because once you're gone, once you're not on this world anymore, you can't pass the knowledge on when you're dead. You've got to get these players. And I mean, the worst case was Bobby Moore. Bobby was never ever asked back to West Ham. He was never asked back from an English point of view to the FA. And then dear old Bobby, we lose him at, I think he was 51 when he died, and all that great footballing knowledge is gone. And it's just such a shame. You have to get people involved at football clubs, and that's why I don't understand the board. I've got it at my club, West Ham, at the moment. I'm sure it applies to most clubs. No football knowledge at all on a board. Not one person who's ever played, managed, coached anything to do with football.
Do you think?
And yet you've got a board of directors who are all builders and flipping landscape gardeners or something, and no, not one football person on the board. I don't get it.
That's got to be deliberate, surely. Like, do they not want that kind of challenge? Maybe.
I think they're all too busy on an ego trip, and all thinking they because I've watched this team for 10 years, I know what I'm talking about. You surely you need people to pass their knowledge on, and that. So for me, I don't think it will be in a tracksuit role. I can't see it being coaching, managing, but if there was a takeover, or if there was something that really tickled my fancy from a business point of view, then I'd like to get involved in that. So that's I think. I might be totally wrong, but I think at the moment, as we sit here today, that's my only way of sort of getting back into football.
Okay, so we're going to finish up with 10 Q&A questions.
10, right, let's go.
Just lighthearted, fun.
Okay, let's go.
So I'll kick off. You may have answered this. So what is your biggest regret in your career?
Biggest regret in my career, not scoring for England. I think I've already mentioned that one. Not staying at West Ham my whole career. Right. As a West Ham boy, I'd love to be sitting here today saying I played all my games and all my goals for West Ham. But if I'd have done that, I wouldn't have played for Everton and Leicester, two great clubs. So that's a bit mixed with that one. And then my last club, believe it or not, was Millwall, who I signed for. I had 2 substitute appearances. Should never ever have gone anywhere near Millwall. Was a West Ham boy, obviously, but professional and personal and all that. But no, not too many. I don't think not too many. But it's not a regret. It's just a regret. It's just I just wish I'd have felt that feeling of scoring for England. Really, that is the one thing I feel like I missed out on.
Yeah. More a bit lighthearted. What's your preference? You a cooked breakfast guy or a roast dinner guy? What's your favourite if you have to choose between two?
I love a roast dinner. So through the winter, we're pretty regular Sunday roast dinner. I don't think you can beat a Sunday roast dinner. I don't really have the cooked breakfast unless we stay at a hotel or something. I normally have a bit of egg and bacon or something. Not really the old gut buster with sausages and beans and all that. Don't really have that every week. Like,
I was asked this morning.
Put enough pounds on as it is. Like, you was at the hotel this morning. Yeah, that's right. So I through the course of the year, I would definitely eat a lot more roast dinners. But once it gets to the summer, you have more salads and all that sort of stuff on a Sunday. So, but can't beat a roast dinner. Roast turkey is my favourite.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, well, might as well make a drink now. What's your tipple? Nice bar there as well, Tony. But
I would say Budweiser, which it is, but I've drunk all my Budweisers, so they've all gone from the fridge. I'm a bit partial to a bit of white and red wine as well, so I like that. But I mean, you can see the spirit. I've got my West Ham sort of vodka here, look, you can see that. So
nice. Grey Goose as well.
Good touch.
Grey Goose, yeah. That's the Missus Grey Goose, So we try and have a nice mixture, and we have a few gathering friends come in and everything. But no, I'm very much I'm a beer man. I drink too much beer. I know I do. I think we probably all say that now, don't we? So Budweiser, Foster's, Madry. I've got a few.
Anything again?
A few that I like. There's a few I don't like. I'm not really a Stella man, but there's a few I do like.
Great. What's the best freebie or perk you've had as a football player?
Wow. I had a few sponsored cars in my time. That sort of springs to mind. It's quite funny. I used to drive the sponsored cars, and they had sponsored by whoever, and it's got my name Tony Cottee written down the side. And you pull up the traffic lights, and you look in. The bloke's looking, and you think, what's he looking at? And then when you get home and you get out of the car and you see the side of the car, and you think, I know what he was looking at now. And you think, what an idiot! Freebies. I don't know. I'm not really a ponce. I've got to be honest. I'm not really one. I'm not really one of these who always trying to get freebies and things like that. Sponsored cars about all I can think of at the moment. It's a good question. I'll have a little think about it. If something else comes to mind, I'll let you know before we finish.
You mentioned you've done quite a bit of travelling. Is there any holiday destination that's kind of on your bucket list that you'd love to visit?
I'd like to go to Argentina. Part of me would like to go there. Yeah. Listen, I've been very fortunate in what I've done. I've been to the Maldives and Dubai, Australia, New Zealand, and went to Brazil for the 2014 World Cup as an England fan. By the time I got there, 2 days later, we was knocked out. So they didn't. It was a 2-week trip, and we was knocked out after 2 days. I've done a lot of it. I'm going on safari in it. So I'm 60 next year, so we're going on safari, family holiday, safari. I won't say family, me, the missus, and 2 other couples.
South Africa, is it? South Africa.
South Africa, yeah. So going there, which would be nice. So I'm looking forward to that. But there's not too many places I haven't been. I want to go to. There's a few that I would like to go back to. The Maldives being one of them. I've been very fortunate, very lucky to be out going on holiday.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a sort of a quick fire round within a quick fire round.
Okay.
So yes or no? Tony Cruz, world class? Yes or no?
No.
Tony Yeboah?
No.
Tony Adams?
No.
Ivan Tony?
No.
Tony Soprano?
There you are.
That's it.
I didn't know who the last one was. Tony Soprano. What's it?
Yeah,
it's
The Godfather.
Is that one of the films?
Yeah. So my third last question is
no world class Tonys, myself included, basically. Yeah.
What's the funniest sort of dig, jibe, or anything you've had on the pitch, or a fan shout at you or give you?
I don't know. It's one of them that I don't think anything is going to immediately spring to mind. But I mean, at West Ham we had there was a stand called the Chicken Run, and used to get a lot of characters. It's only Sam.
Yeah.
Used to get a lot of characters shouting things out and that. Some of the things were really funny and that, but I can't think of anything specific.
Maybe you said somebody.
Yeah, there was a few songs like Tony Cottee's a wanker, and they're singing collectively, like thousands of people singing it and things like that. But I actually, again, I used to use it as a compliment. I used to think, well, they're singing a song to me. Why are they singing a song? They must be singing a song because they think I'm a good player. If they think I'm a good player, they're trying to put me off my game. So I used to sort of do it from a reverse psychology, if that makes sense. If they don't sing about you, you must be proper shit. That was my thinking anyway.
Yeah, dude.
did you have a favorite like hunting ground that you used to score lots of goals on? What was kind of your favorite ground to play at, apart from obviously West Ham?
There was a few. I mean, Coventry was always good for me because my nan used to live in Coventry, so I had a sort of bit of an affiliation with Coventry. QPR, I scored a lot of goals. Ipswich, Tottenham. But then on the other hand, you had grounds like Liverpool, Manchester United, Ellen Road. It took me years to score at those grounds. So yeah, it's weird. I mean, I think it applies to all goal scorers. I mean, you can name Harry Kane, Lineker, whoever you want to name. Like they all say, there's certain teams you almost know you're going to score against, and then there's other teams that whatever you do, you're not going to score. So it's it's just when it was like Coventry. Oh, here we go, get a few goals today.
Okay.
Back to food for me. Fish and chips or pie and mash? Toughy for you.
If the pie and mash is with liquor, I'd go pie and mash and liquor. Don't want gravy. If it's gravy, no, fish and chips. I've got chippy at the top of the road as well. So pie and mash, it's got to be proper East End, pie and mash and liquor.
Okay. Last question? That's it for me. Okay, so we'll just ask you, it's a tough one to ask, but who do you consider, you've probably already answered this, but who do you consider the GOAT? Is that Pele for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I love what Messi and Ronaldo have done over the last few years, but Pele for me was. Listen, I'm old. When you grow up in the 70s and you watch it wasn't even the World Cups of my era, but when you first sort of see the TV, they always had TV clips, and then when video first came out, and the first video you got was Pele's 100 greatest goals or something like that, and you think, well, this guy won 3 World Cups. Scoring a final as a 17-year-old. Yeah, I mean, people don't do things like that. It was just incredible, really. And he could and should have played in 1974 as well. I think it's only because he couldn't be bothered. It was like he's only 33, I think, when that one come round.
Yeah.
So I think to just statistically to win 3 World Cups, and as I say, like that video, it's well worth watching. And Pele did it first, and it's. Everyone goes, Messi done this and Ronaldo done that, and look at this, and he's so overhead kick and all that. I mean, Pele done all that in the 60s and the 70s, So I think he's got to be number one, but that's me of a certain age. You ask some of the youngsters in this world, I'm sure they would come up with a Messi or Ronaldo, and I understand that.
Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like on the channel. If you want to be notified for new episodes, consider subscribing. And if you want to get involved in the debates, drop a comment in the comment section. But that's it for this time, guys. Have a world-class weekend, and we'll catch you next time.